Well, good evening, everyone. Happy Sunday. And today I am going to share with you some painful reminders as well as the 4 stages of parental alienation. So I wrote these 4 stages to help all of you understand the parental alienation business model, because it is a business model within the family law business model. And you guys need to understand it because it is one of the most lucrative business models that the family courts have and use today. They use the love that you have for your children to extort you and bully you and intimidate you out of your relationships, as opposed to protecting your relationship between you and your children. And this is a very painful subject for me, so you might find me pausing and taking a few breaths, which I recommend all of you do. If you don't know who I am, I'm Sherry Palmer with Fixed Family Courts. I was severely alienated to the point where the federal courts actually said that my alienation that I suffered was constitutionally significant. So it is a very difficult topic for me to discuss, and I appreciate all of your support over the years. It has really helped me get through it. I am reconnected with my children. We do have close relationships, but I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that there aren't scars and there aren't things that they lost, and we're going to get into that today, okay? So thanks for joining me. So I want you to picture a few things before we get started, and excuse the hair. You guys all know that I travel in a semi. It's not very conducive to being very girly and getting all nice and prettied up. So picture a few things with me, if you will, and if you have pen and paper, that might help you follow along today. Picture, and you probably don't even have to picture it. Hey Peter, thanks so much for joining me. Sorry about beating you up last time. Peter Lamtavas is with us, by the way, guys. He is an attorney in New York. He has to struggle through these things as well, and he does everything that he can to protect the parents that he represents. It is a difficult scheme and situation to be in the family courts. So let's picture this, okay? Some of you may actually be going through this. You're a parent, and you go to pick up your child for your visitation time or your parenting time, and you drive, let's say, 45 miles away because the courts let the other parent move. So now you're driving through rush hour traffic to go get your kids, and you get there and you get denied. The parent refuses to give you the children, so you have to drive all the way back empty-handed. The whole time thinking about what just happened. How did this happen? You probably even called the police and said, I can't get my kids, and they said, sorry, civil matter, it's not our deal. You're gonna have to go back to court. So next day, if you're lucky enough that it's still a weekday, you go into court and you say, I didn't get my kids. You don't know at the time that you can file a habeas, right? Which habeas only works on the days that you're entitled to the children. But you may not even have time during the hours that the courts are open that you're entitled to your kids. So it's a very frustrating thing. So you go to the courts and you tell them, hey, I'm not getting my kids, can I see the judge? Well, no, you're told that's not how it works. So here you are, no kids. So you go back the next day because this is your weekend, right? And same thing happens again. And you drive all the way back home, no kid in the car. And then let's say on Saturday you go, look, you know, I need you to give me my child. You know, our child has plans this weekend. I spent money on a camping trip or whatever, fishing. And so the other parent says, all right, I'll meet you in the parking lot. And they meet you in the parking lot and you see your kid. There's your child almost within your grasp. And he locks the doors. So you call the police again. He sits in the parking lot because guess what? They like to share with the police that your child doesn't want to go with you. something that's very hard for you to believe because you may have had a super close relationship with that kid before this. And so the police do the same thing. I can't do anything. So, or how about this scenario? We'll go through one more. Your ex shows up at your house, says, here you go, here's the kids, they start a disagreement with you. So let's say you're the dad now, mom starts a disagreement. Hey, I told you I needed this, this, and this before, you know, I give you the kids, and next thing you know, she's taking back off to the car, you're not getting the kids, you don't want to call the police again because they haven't helped. So how much more of this can you take? And what is going on? How did it get this way, right? How could it possibly even be happening that any judge has given control like this to another parent, and then the police who are supposed to help you enforce the orders don't do anything? So one thing I want to point out before we get into this business model, because I'm going to show you here on my whiteboard what I drew, is that I don't think enough people realize the trauma and how hard it is for you to actually keep going back and going through this suffering, this disappointment, this pain, these losses, right? I don't think people understand how hard that actually is for you to keep going back to get them, which, by the way, the law requires that you go and try to get them. So it's constant re-injury for you, right? So little do you know at that time that it's going to get much worse, right? And hey, Holly, thanks for showing up. I'm going to bring you in a little bit. So if you can stay right there, you guys, we have a surprise guest. We're going to bring Holly in. And so let me show you, let's take a look at the parental alienation business model that I created for you over here so that you know what you're all dealing with, okay? And only then can we begin to make some progress once you understand what is actually happening. So let me see if I can set this down. Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to set this down, so I'm gonna put this in front of me and see if I can turn my camera around. I'm not sure if it lets me do that, so just bear with me for a second here, everyone. That didn't do it. I don't know if I can turn my camera around on here. Looks like it lets me right on here. Okay, no. Alright, so I'm just going to hold it up to you guys and in front of me and see if I can point at it, okay? And it's going to be backwards. It's just the way this thing works. So, here we've got the court temporary orders right here. Okay, let's see if I got a pointer so I don't rub it off. So we'll get to you, Brett. I see your question. So we've got the court temporary orders here, plus, gotta move your comments over for a minute, plus the violator, plus the lack of enforcement, which equals parental alienation stage 1. That's how it gets started. And then the next stage is you get back into court, right? And the court then creates some new temporary orders with a court-appointed advisor, or as they call in some states, experts, times the delays now that you're going to suffer because they have to get all these reports and the investigations that they do. So they're going to make reports and investigations. So you've got the court-appointed advisors times the delays plus the investigations. That's parental alienation stage 2. Okay, there's 4 stages in this, and you're going to see how these stages get repetitive and very expensive. So then let's go back, and you go through all of those, you get all of your reports, you get all of the investigations done, all of the discovery. You're pretty much broke, practically bankrupt, and you get a court final order, right? I gotta look at what I wrote here, plus the, okay, you get the court final order. And in this court final order, you have a reunification therapist ordered, plus possibly supervised visitation until that reunification therapy gets done. These are all expenses. Plus the continued court involvement, okay, because they're going to go back and they're going to review. So that's your parental alienation stage 3. And the stage 4 is now you've got post-trial motions, you've got appeals. After that, well, regardless of whether you win the appeal or don't win the appeal, you've got modifications or retrials, and the cycle just starts all over again. And each time that cycle starts over again, it gets messier, doesn't it? CPS could be involved if they weren't involved already in this, because now allegations may start happening. Now your child's attitude starts changing, okay? So they're taking advantage of your love for your child while they're extorting money from you to do all of this. As if it wasn't bad enough, you're going through the hardest times trying to reestablish routines for your life and for your children as a single individual, but you also get to get abused by the government state actors too, people you thought you could trust. So then to see that effect that it has on your children can really push many over the edge, can't it? Your child's attitudes start to change. You might be the president of a nonprofit association or a library association like I was, and for the first time ever, your child in front of other important individuals that you're having a meeting with comes over and just is rude and disrespectful and embarrasses you so badly that you resign. So you start dropping off of things. You start removing yourself from the public eye. You stop volunteering, because now all your focus is on how do I get my children back in my life, right? It doesn't take a lot or a lot of time for this to happen. This can all happen over a course of a few months to a year. And it can go on for many years. So it's painful to know that once your child was open and loving and wanted to share with you, now you're less than a neighbor or a stranger. Yet you continue because it's your child and you know that they need you, even if they don't know this right now. So talking about the painful stuff also stirs your own painful wounds, doesn't it? And it isn't just pain you feel, it's disappointment, shock, reminders that your court system is crap. You can't trust them. You can't trust people in authority and in power. And that the courts took advantage of your children worse than your ex ever could have on their own. It's a very scary prospect, isn't it? Right? We're supposed to have court systems to prevent more civil wars, to prevent the violence that you saw in other movements. It's a very scary thing. And you don't even want to believe it either, right? So you find your own self in denial and saying, I just can't believe this is happening. There must be something that I did wrong. You start doing self-blame. So you think it's maybe a fluke or something like that. It's not, you guys, it's not. This is the way the system is designed, like I just showed you, okay? And either way, you just keep going to court again and again, because the only way you can get your authority back is through the court, because they took it, right? The courts are thriving off of this. But what now? Since the police didn't help you, the district attorney's not helping you, it feels like you're in terrible relationships with everyone around now, because you're having to complain about everybody. Everyone's telling you it's up to the court, and you're running out of money. This is what we call court-induced parental alienation. Now, I'm trying to turn my head, everyone, so you're not getting quite the glare from my glasses. Your ex really could not have done this on their own without the assistance of the court, and the ambivalence of the police and the district attorney. So while you want to be angry at them, be angry at the system, and let's convert that anger into something effective. Right? So what has happened here? The reason that we have this problem today, the court-induced parental alienation, is that we have forgotten the source, and parents and children no longer enjoy the protections that these rights provide. We've forgotten the source that the protection of these rights came from. And the reason that this started and continues today is because there has been no cohesive understanding of where the rights come from and how they are to be applied. So just recently, the American Bar Association delegates passed a resolution on August 26th, actually. They had their mid-year meeting August 12th and 13th, 2019, this year, and they passed a resolution where they actually admitted that they only had policies to protect children's rights, or the right of the children, and not to protect the family integrity in the family unit. Now, it sounds kind of contradictory, right? Because if they were actually protecting the rights of the children, they couldn't have violated the integrity of the family and the family unit. But I'm just conveying to you how they articulated this in their delegate paper, which will be up on my blog with this Facebook Live. You can download the resolution from our website, fixedfamilycourts.com/blog. Okay, so what they say is, in other words, the right of the child to be with the parent is what they left out of the American Bar Association policies. Imagine that. No wonder you're having a problem. That means each of their parents, by the way, not just one or the other. However, they conveniently don't go quite that far in this ABA resolution. They never ever admit that they never talk about two-parent suits. Okay, this paper was mostly the brainchild after the separations happened with the immigration, right? The children of the parents who came over here and were separated from their children. So this mostly came from that, and that's what they talk about mostly, but these are still steps in the right direction, right? Preventing separation from their families and admitting that they did not protect the child's right to family integrity and family unity. They do address foster care and CPS, but we aren't covering that today in this Facebook Live. But it is a very important part of how the courts and your ex are able to alienate you from your child so effectively and shockingly. So you have a constitutional right to parent your child, and your child has a constitutional right to be parented by you. You have suffered a significant injury, and so have they. You are grieving over a forced loss. So what does that mean? What is a forced loss? So forced loss is different than if your child or family member was taken through an act of God, right? You actually have societal systems and stages of grieving, and society will support your grieving and your loss, and that loss subsides over time and you're able to heal. But when you suffer a forced loss caused by other humans, we don't get over that. And thank God you guys don't. Thank God you're all here, because if we got over that, we would never ever change these processes. We would never change these broken systems. So you've suffered a forced loss, and through lying, trickery, bullying, ridiculing, scheming, intimidation, all to weaken you, and then once you're weak, kick you again and punish you with loss of your child. So there's no support system for you for that. There's no ritual for grieving those losses, or forced on you from the legal system. In fact, people usually tell you to just get over it and move on, right? So how many of you have experienced that? Comment for me down below, and I'm going to put these comments back over here. And while you're commenting, I'm going to get to your comments after I bring Holly in. And Holly has experienced this predatory legal system as well and suffered this shock. And I have her here today because she wrote a poem called I'm That Mom. It almost makes me cry just saying the title, Holly. So let me bring Holly in So let me see if I can get... Okay. Well, I don't see her now. Okay. So I'm sorry. I guess she's not here. So I'm going to have to try to read that to you. Her name is Holly Dresson, and she always tells all of you, dress on, not dress off. I love that, Holly. So I'm going to try to read it to you without crying. Okay? I don't know if I can. So she says, I'm that mom that reminds you to not only brush your teeth, but to floss too. I'm that mom that sneaks spinach into homemade chicken nuggets. I'm that mom that texts you encouraging memes. I'm that mom that sends you other people's videos on subjects we've discussed because I know how important third-party validation is. I'm that mom that makes sacrifices you don't have to. I'm that mom that made a family tradition of walking before and after our Thanksgiving meal. I pray to do that with you this year. I'm that mom that prays for your safety when I'm not around. I'm that mom that prays for your... I'm that mom that writes 143 on your napkin for lunch. I'm that mom that is not only your biggest cheerleader, but the loudest. I'm that mom that tries every day to be better than I was the day before. I'm that mom that dreams what most say are impossible dreams. I'm that mom that's been alienated from you. I'm that mom that is never, ever going to give up. I'm that mom. Hashtag pause, reflect, move forward. Hashtag parental alienation. Thank you, Holly, so much for being vulnerable and allowing us to all grow through your pain and help us heal through that pain. I heard all over again when I read words like that, and it's hard for all of us to talk and think about this painful process, but I work every day on fixing this process. That's my mission, and I have not achieved that mission yet until I've ended the painful process for all of you. And that this pain that I feel now is because of all the pain that all of you are going through, that I want to stop. I want this all to end for all of you. So let me get to some of your questions and see some of your comments here. Peter makes a good point. He says a poorly written order means they make money, which is true, because then you have a difficult time. So what he's saying is if you guys have a poorly written order where you can't enforce it, you have to go back and get the orders corrected or clarified or modified, and that's an expensive process. You got to pay a lawyer to go do that. And then let's see. Yep, I love that phrase, Peter. Kids are the tail that wags the dog. So Brad says, what about my extreme situation? So hi Des, hi Kelly, thanks for watching. Brett, kind of tell people what exact part are you asking about, and then I'll get to your question, okay? ABA is not government. I agree, it's not government. However, the people who practice those policies are acting as state actors. Is that correct, Peter? That when they go into the court and they're representing parents, but they're also a representative of the court, right? Or how would you say it, Peter? Why don't you put it down there? The judge empowers the ex, true. Let's see, Margaret. Margaret says, let's see. Yeah, I agree, Margaret. She says not one decision has been made in the best interest of her child, not one. And I'm sure you guys can all say, can all say that as well. It's never in your child's best interest to be removing a fit parent from their life, to force parents into these highly adversarial litigation situations without proper causes of action. And the proper causes of action that we're talking about are the ones that are triggered properly by meeting the constitutional threshold. It's because they go under that threshold that they are able to torture all of you and extort this money from you. If they were held to the standards, the proper standards, they wouldn't be able to get away with so much. Oh, thanks for stopping in, Peter. Peter has to drop off, everyone. Thank you so much. So, Brett, the habeas stuff. Okay, so when I brought up habeas, what I'm talking about is if you are supposed to have your child, let's say Thursday and Friday after school, right? Like that's expanded standard in Texas, and you didn't get them on Thursday. So Friday morning, you could walk into the Texas courts. Now, remember, I don't know all your details. I'm not a lawyer, anyone, not a substitute for a lawyer, and I don't practice law. We educate you guys on this system so that you know better what to ask for and how to negotiate and communicate your needs and reach your goals with your attorney, okay? So I'm sorry this all looks really weird. I look like, I mean, it's like Halloween, like I have weird veins popping out and everything. So, okay, so the habeas. So Friday morning, if your case qualifies, you can go in and ask for habeas, which is habeas corpus means bring the body of the child to the court. It takes priority over pretty much everything except for like a murder trial. And so you can go in and ask the court to have the ex bring those children to the court, get a writ of attachment, and get your time with your child. Now that's all assuming that a lot of things work correctly, like you can get in to be heard. Now when I had to do it, I walked from court to court and went from judge to judge, because in our particular situation, you didn't have to have your judge hear it. You could go to any of those judges. And I didn't know this without just trying it. I was so desperate to get that time with my children, because I knew that the more time they spent away from me and the more time they spent with him being negative and poisoning their minds on me, the more they would be alienated and have wrong ideas about me, and the more they would miss out from all the benefits they got from being with me too. So anyways, you walk from judge to judge and you ask them to hear it. Now some judges will say, no, your judge has to hear it, but then you remind them it's a habeas. It needs to be heard immediately, because it can only be heard on the days you're entitled to possession. So if you can get a judge to hear it, then and yes, I'm talking about, you know, you got to notify the other side, but I walked in ex parte. I sent an email to the other side because we had agreed on email notifications. So there's lots of things you got to have in place. But once you get that all in place, especially if there's an alienator, they're going to do this over and over and over again. So as long as you have time during the week, you have opportunity to do this. If you do not have time during the week and during the open hours of court, unfortunately, this mechanism won't be available to you. So I'm really sorry about that. But for the ones who do have it available, use it. Do everything you can to disrupt that alienation. Okay, so let me see if anyone else has questions. Okay, Brett, no problem. You can go on later and view this. He said he can't type because he's driving. Please don't try to write while you're driving. I probably should have said that earlier. Okay, I think that was all the questions. And I'm sorry if I miss any. I know last time I was trying to see questions on here, and for some reason it wasn't showing me everything. So join me tomorrow. I'm going to be on here live every day all the way up to our workshops this weekend, as I cover another parental alienation topic with you. All week's going to be parental alienation topics as we inch closer to 2 key workshops I want you guys to know about that are happening this weekend. And I hope you'll continue your journey with us towards justice and healing and join us on these workshops. So we are supporting parents teaching other parents. So Monica Shamonik has a workshop on Saturday, and I encourage all of you to get in there. These are parents teaching parents. We need to keep encouraging this. It's called Be the Lighthouse. And she will teach you how to stay connected with your child, whether you can talk with them or see them or not. And then I will follow the next day on Sunday with a workshop for those of you who want to learn about changing the policies that are allowing the separation of parent and child, and to learn about the parental alienation lawsuits. So Monica's link I'll be posting up at the top. Let me know if you do go, because if you go, I have a special bonus for you when you come to mine on Sunday if you show me a receipt to hers. So again, thank you so much, you guys. And I hope you will continue to journey with us towards justice and healing. And see you tomorrow. Bye.